You can't not like them because they were just there. Greetings, vinyl community. I'm TC Kirkham, the Kirkham Report, and this is Influencers, my show about where I talk about the musical influences in my life over the years. Um, there's a lot of them that aren't included in the opening credits, and these are one of them. My wife and I were actually talking about some ideas for me to do on the show, even though I've got quite a long list, and hadn't thought of this one because it wasn't on the radar immediately, but I realized when we were talking about it that there was an influential connection because they were the first act I ever got into from a television show. And I do have most of the stuff. I love them. Other members of the vinyl community who I am friends with are big fans. And so I would like to take this time today to talk to you about why I consider the Partridge Family and influence. This is the debut album that was released in late 1970. It was from the first season. Um, some of these are not in the best of shape. I do actually have a newer copy of a couple of them, and I do have several of them on CD, including this one. Um, this was the debut album that featured the number one smash, I Think I Love You, and second single, it actually came from the next album. Um, Partridge Family, starring Shirley Jones, featuring David Cassidy, is how all the billing went. Um, this album got played constantly when I was 7 and 8 years old. I was a big fan, remain a big fan, although some of the older shows are kind of hokey. Now, I do enjoy it. I loved the show at the time, and it's great pop music, most of it written, produced, and crafted by Wes Farrell. Wes Farrell, of course, was responsible for a lot of the Cowsills hits, and of course, the Partridge Family is based on the Cowsills. A lot of great stuff from him over the years with other acts as well as the Partridge Family. The 11 tracks on this album featured mostly David. I say that because one of the songs, I'm on the Road, which remains one of my favorite songs by them, is actually by the Ron Hicklin Singers. It was recorded before they had cast David Cassidy and before he started doing his own singing on the show. Um, but he does the lead on everything else on here. The album includes Brand New Me, Point Me in the Direction of Albuquerque, which was my introduction to Tony Romeo as a songwriter. I love his stuff. He wrote a lot of stuff for other acts as well. Mandela, I Really Want to Know You, which features a great harmony line from. I think that one is actually the Ron Hicklin Singers with Shirley Jones. David is not very prominent on that, but Shirley Jones is. Only a Moment Ago, I Can Feel Your Heartbeat, I'm on the Road. Um, to Be Lovers, Somebody Wants to Love You, I Think I Love You, and Singing My Song. When my wife and I traveled to the Cape, we haven't been for a few years because of the pandemic and because of some personal issues the year before the pandemic. It's become a tradition of when we're going toward the Cape, the first thing I play on my headphones is Partridge Family's I'm on the Road. Love that song. Of course, this was the original cast of the show. That would change after the second album. Not that they really did anything on the album, but as you can see, this is, of course, David and Shirley. And of course, there's the original publicity shot. Then it also includes Susan Day, Jeremy Gelblocks, who was the original Chris, Danny Bonaducci, Suzanne Crowe, and Simone, the dog. Um, all in all, this is not my favorite Partridge Family album, but I do love it. Uh, all through the way that it. I mean, I just played it constantly when I was 7 and 8 years old because I mean it just got played and played and played. This is a newer copy and I have it on CD, so that's cool. The second album that came out the following spring is Up to Date. This is the old copy. I do have a newer copy on vinyl that I purchased last year, and I also have this on CD as well. Um, This is the album that features Doesn't Somebody Want to Be Wanted? It also has I'll Meet You Halfway, the two singles from the album, along with You Are Always on My Mind, I'm Here, You're Here, Umbrella Man, Lay It on the Line, Morning Rider on the Road, That'll Be the Day, There's No Doubt in My Mind, She'd Rather Have the Rain, and um, I'll Leave Myself a Little Time. This features great writing from Wes Farrell, again, along with Tony Romeo or Tony Romeo. A lot of good stuff. Terry Cashman wrote a couple of songs. Excellently produced. Again, Wes Farrell in charge of productions. David does all the vocals on this album. And this was released in the spring of 1971 during the back half of the first season. There's some cover damage, as you can see, off the original one. I have this on CD, and in fact, when they came out on CD, I'm Here, You're Here was added to my Kirkham Report chart and went all the way to #1 in 1990 or 91. I forget which. I did that with the Brady Bunch, too, when they released their stuff on CD. Because I'm still a fan. I'm still a huge fan. This has a couple of my favorite songs on it. This is my overall favorite Partridge Family album because I'm not a big fan of Doesn't Somebody Want to Be Wanted, although I just got a picture sleeve of it, of the single from Don and Mary. But I love I'm Here, You're Here, Umbrella Man, and You Are Always on My Mind is one of my favorite songs by them. My mom never liked that song, and she always was like, oh, it's so repetitive. I'm like, yeah, it is, but it's supposed to be, you know? She would listen to them with me occasionally. But I always loved this one, and this has got some really great stuff on it. Partridge Family Up to Date 1971. Next up, this one's completely trash as far as markups and stuff over the years. This was the first album from season 2, Sound Magazine, the Partridge Family. This features their hit I Woke Up in Love This Morning, and also, was there a second single off this? I want to say no. It features One Night Stand, Brown Eyes, which is a great song, Echo Valley 26809, which became a classic and was my first exposure to the genius that is Rupert Holmes. You Don't Have to Tell Me, Rainmaker, I'm on My Way Back Home, Summer Days, I Would Love You Anyway, 24 Hours a Day, I Woke Up in Love This Morning, and Love Is All That I Ever Needed. This is the first album to feature Brian Forrester as Chris, right here. Of course, now he's a race car driver. It's this album is not my favorite. I'm not really a big fan of a lot of the songs, but again, I was a kid and I played it constantly, just like I played all of the other ones. As you can see, like I said, it's marked up terribly, and this is one I do need to get a new copy of. I did not get the CD of this. I need to do that if I can find them, because all of the albums came out on CD eventually. Even the one I don't have, I actually don't have the final one. But love what I Woke Up in Love This Morning. It's one of my favorite songs by them. And Echo Valley 26809, like I said, my first exposure to the genius of Rupert Holmes as a songwriter. Next up, this is definitely a go-to album every holiday, A Partridge Family Christmas Card. This is the original 1971 release. There's the slot where the card went in. I have this on CD also. And if you watched my Christmas countdown in 2020, My Christmas Card to You remains my second or third favorite Christmas song of all time. I don't know why it's not played every year, because it is just a dynamite little song for Christmas. I think they went a little overboard on some of the stuff. I love the fact that Shirley gets to do lead on a couple of the songs. Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. Not really fond of Blue Christmas on here, but I love the other songs. They're all kind of jazzy for the 1971 period that it came into. And like I said, My Christmas Card to You, you can't go wrong with this song. It was let me see, I haven't really checked it lately. Oh, actually, this has still got this. Did I get a new copy of this? I think I got this later. Yeah, this is actually not a original, but yeah, it's another Tony Romeo song, so that explains why I like it so much, because he wrote great stuff for them. And My Christmas Card to You is just a top-notch Christmas song all the way around. This remains in my Christmas rotation every year, and it's been 52 years since the show premiered. Why did I say that out loud? Oh God. Yike. Next up, um, the Partridge Family shopping bag. The less said about this album, the better. It came with a free shopping bag, which I don't have anymore. I'm not really a fan of this album. I like the single. It's one of those nights. But the second single, Am I Losing You, was the first one to miss the top 40, and I really didn't care for that song. I think that they should have probably have gone with either If You Ever Go or It's All on Your Mind as the next single after It's One of Those Nights. I actually played It's One of Those Nights on Obscuria a couple months back. Girl, You Make My Day, Every Bit of You, Every Little Bit of You, Something New Got Old, Am I Losing You, Last Night, It's All on Your Mind. Hello, There'll Come a Time, If You Ever Go, Every Song Is You, and It's One of Those Nights, Yes, Love. This was a gatefold of sorts as it folded down. And interior talks about each song. Not my favorite Partridge Family album. It's not as bad as some of the songs that I don't really like. Like I said, I'm not really a fan of Am I Losing You. Most of the stuff, this one didn't get played as much as the other ones did. Because I was a little older. I was 9 and 10, I think, when this came out. And as much as I loved the show still and loved them still, the songs, I was starting to get a wider branch of music into my life, and more singles were coming into my life, and I was listening to the radio more and more. I had discovered American Top 40 by the time this had debuted. And so it wasn't as important as the first, second album and sort of Sound Magazine. Sort of. Next up was the Greatest Hits album, Partridge Family at Home with the Greatest Hits. I only pulled this, I haven't been showing the Greatest Hits, but this does have an original song. Their cover of Neil Sedaka's Breaking Up Is Hard to Do, which is actually really good. It's a great pop version. It includes their singles plus 5 or 6 album tracks. I Think I Love You, I'll Meet You Halfway, It's One of Those Nights, Echo Valley 26809, I Woke Up in Love This Morning, I Can Feel Your Heartbeat, Doesn't Somebody Want to Be Wanted, Am I Losing You, Brown Eyes, She'd Rather Have the Rain, and Breaking Up Is Hard to Do. Not all of those were singles, but I loved their version of Breaking Up Is Hard to Do. And I mean, the session musicians that played for the Partridge Family over the years, Larry Knechtel, Mike Melvin, Joe Osborne, Hal Blaine, Larry Carlton. Come on, really? I mean, these guys made these guys sound fantastic, and it was awesome. This is why they had the pop sensation that they were. This album is one of several different greatest hits albums. This was the first. There is an album that I also have called The World of the Partridge Family, which is a double album set, and that includes their entire output. It was released a year after the show was canceled. And one of the worst pictures of Danny Bonaducci ever. I mean, there are times that Danny was not terribly photogenic, and that was one of them. It just didn't look very good. Next up, I didn't get any more of the Partridge Family albums until way later because they just weren't able to, I wasn't able to find them. I picked up the Partridge Family notebook probably in the late 70s when I found it in a cutout bin for $1. And there's the cutout notch right there. Again, this has got better songs that deserved better on the radio, particularly Together We're Better and Friend and the Lover. I thought were great. This album, I actually really like their version of Looking Through the Eyes of Love, which has been recorded by a number of people. It's a Barry Mann, Cynthia Weil song. But I like David's lead vocal on this, and I think I like that song anyway. There's been a number of other artists that have cut it. This is from the 3rd season, and you probably at that point when the ratings had started to dwindle a little bit, a lot of people weren't that into it as much. But I do think it has some great stuff on here. Friend and Lover, Walking in the Rain, Take Good Care of Her, Together We're Better, Looking Through the Eyes of Love, Maybe Someday, We Got to Get Out of This Place, Storybook Love, Love Must Be the Answer, Something's Wrong, and As Long as You're There. This is a better album than Shopping Bag. It deserved better than it got. And I really think that the show at that point had kind of dwindled down to the ratings were kind of slipping at that time. Next up, I just purchased this last year, having finally gotten an opportunity to do so, and it's in pristine shape. The Partridge Family crossword puzzle. This was from the second half of the third season. I need to take the album out of the sleeve so I can actually read it. I have actually not listened to this album yet. It's on my. I bought hundreds of albums during the pandemic. I've heard most of the songs, but I've never listened to it in its entirety. One day at a time, sunshine, as long as there's you. It's a long way to heaven. Now that you got me where you want me, it means I'm in love with you. Come on, love. I got your love all over me. Let your love go. It sounds like you're saying hello, and it's you. Those were the songs. Again, top-notch people involved. I think I've only heard one song off here, maybe two that are on that World of the Partridge Family album, but I've not listened to the whole thing, and I need to do that. So that's why one of the reasons why I pulled this. Again, following that weird little motif that they had of making each thing something special. Now, I do not have the seventh and final album of the studio set, which is the Partridge Family Bulletin Board. It's on my Discogs. I need to pick it up. I've been told by a couple of other Partridge Family fans online that it is less than spectacular, but it does have the song Roller Coaster, which is featured on The World of the Partridge Family. I love that song. So I may end up liking that whole album. I thought it was, I think they were terrific as a whole. Now, there are a number of compilation albums out there. I have one of them or two of them on CD. I don't have them to get to them. One of them is called Come On Get Happy. I think that's the one I have. It features the first time they've released the theme song, and I think it has both versions, the When We're Singing and Come On Get Happy on it. It also features most of their big hits, but most of their big album hits, and at least one or two of David's solo hits, probably Cherish and Could It Be Forever. As far as David went, I never picked up his solo albums. I have quite a few of his singles. I just bought a new copy of Cherish from Dawn and Mary. And I have Could It Be Forever, although it's wrecked. I need to get another copy. And Rock Me Baby as singles. But I never picked up his albums. I don't quite know why. I mean, obviously at the time I was 7, 8, 9. I didn't have the money. The albums were premium albums at that time, ran about $5.99, and I only got a $5 allowance a month, so I couldn't get something that was that high. Mom would never let me get an extra dollar for it. I had to stay within my budget, so I did. Um, but I never picked up any of his albums. Strangely enough, I have all of Sean's albums, but I didn't have all of Sean's albums. I didn't have the live album until last year, and I had to rebuy the first album when I discovered it was missing. So, but I do have all of Sean's albums. Another album that's missing from my collection that I used to own was Danny Bonaduce's solo album. Danny released it in 1972 or 1973. He was 13 or 14 years old. This terrible, god-awful picture on the cover. And I do have the 45 of Dreamland, which was a birthday present for me. And I had seen him perform it on the Macy's Parade that year. He was riding the Doodlebug and singing, lip-syncing along with the song. Now, Danny in later years has contended that he did none of the singing on the album, that it was all Bruce Roberts. Bruce Roberts, writer, singer, songwriter, producer. Did he do the vocals? I don't know. To me, it sounds like Danny. But then again, Yo Little Brother sounds like Nolan Thomas, who later became Marco Kafka, and it's actually not him singing on that song. He sings on the rest of the album. That song is someone else. Milli Vanilli Syndrome. I honestly think Danny did at least 2 or 3 of the songs. I don't think he did much of it. I don't think if he did do it, I don't think he remembers doing it, and it might be because either he was already gone on substance abuse issues, which we know, are well on the record, or he just blotted it out because he really didn't enjoy doing it. That's also a possibility, given the nature that's come out now that we know Danny was severely abused as a child when he was on the show. I don't know which way it went. I do have one connected album, and please don't laugh at me, because I loved this album when I was 10 or 11, and quite honestly, I've read reviews of it. I mean, it's in a lot of the worst albums of all time books, but those are professional reviewers. It's not made for them. It's made for kids. Ricky Seagull and the Seagulls. Ricky was on the show for the fourth season until it got canceled. He was 4 years old at the time. Ricky is now Dr. Rick Seagull, chiropractor. He is no longer in the business. But this album is adorable. Yes, he's not the best singer in the world, but he's good for four. He's at least equal to Jordy, who I had on Obscuria last week, or a couple weeks ago. Jordy from France, who had a #1 hit with Do Do It, Très Bébé in 1992, I think it was. Um, it was written by his mom and dad. They produced it. They worked on it with him. That's why it's called Ricky Seagull and the Seagulls. They're there up in the corner. And at the time when it came out, I loved it. I've listened to it. I still like it. I think people can be mean about things. Ricky was not a trained singer, but how can you resist that cute face, people? Really? He's adorable. Say Hey Willie, Just Loving You, Mr. President, Bicycle Song, When I Grow Up, What Kind of Noise Do You Make, Sooner or Later, What Do You Like to Be, All I Want to Ask Santa Claus, and A Little Bit of Love. Most of these were performed on the Partridge Family during season 4. And it isn't that bad. It really isn't. Um, Now, the Partridge Family as a whole, the show, I loved when I was a kid. I've been back rewatching them, and I do find them still funny, particularly the first couple of seasons. Um, but I never bought them on DVD. You don't need to. It's on somewhere. Either streaming or, it'll show up on Antenna TV or Me TV, or there's another one of those nostalgia networks too, and it keeps bouncing back and forth between the three of them. Um, it's still a fun show. Now, of course, here we are in 2022. We lost David Cassidy a few years ago. He died of, they said it was dementia, but actually it was involving, I think it was cirrhosis of the liver from years of alcohol abuse. We lost Suzanne Crow unexpectedly a few years ago of a heart attack. She was my age. Her birthday, yeah, she was 1 week older than me. We were that close in age, and I had a big crush on her when I was a kid. Suzanne had, gotten out of the business after her teen years, after a short-lived show called Mulligan Stew in 1977. Um, Brian is still out there, still doing race cars, as far as I know. That's what he's done most of his adult life. As I said, Ricky Seagull became a chiropractor. Danny Bonaducci has become a media circus over the years, but over the last 20 years, he's cleaned himself up. He's gotten his act together. He had his own talk show for a year or two, which they did a Partridge Family reunion on, including Rick Seagull. Although Susan Day couldn't make it but called in, and David was completely out, and Danny and David appeared together all the time. So they remained friends until David's passing. Um, and Danny is now a top-rated DJ. I think he's either in Seattle or Portland right now, but he's done well for himself. And Shirley Jones, I mean, really? She's always out there, and Susan Day is always out there doing different things, although Susan's mostly retired from her acting career after LA Law ended. I think that there was, in fact, I think she left the show before it actually ended. And Dave Madden, of course, passed away a few years ago, too, who played Reuben Kincaid. A great bunch of people made a great television show. Shirley and David made a great bunch of music. So did Ricky Seagull. And it's a very, very much a part of its early 70s roots. For me, that's where a lot of my musical journey began. I enjoy pop music from that era, and the Partridge Family were a big part of it. I still enjoy it. I still listen to it. I do have at least the first 4 albums on streaming DVD, on a computer, on MP3 as well. All of it can be streamed. It's all somewhere, except the Ricky Seagull and Danny Bonaducci solo stuff. But I have always thought the Partridge Family were terrific, and I always will. They just had great pop music at a time when they were one of the ultimate sunshine pop groups out there. You could I have Sunshine pop is a term that I really wasn't that familiar with until I got involved in the VC, and I first learned of it right beforehand when I saw um, Jingle Bell Rocks, which is about Christmas music collectors, and learned about a band called the Free Design, who were a Sunshine Pop, generally based in California. They were New York based and connected to Enoch Light, who had done a lot of the instrumental and light music. I don't think that's where it got the name from it, but he was one of the instrumental people there. Um, Along with the Archies and and bands like Edison Lighthouse with Sunshine Pop and um, Mamas and the Papas were sort of Sunshine Pop. Spanky and our gang definitely. It was just fun pop music to listen to. Not all of it made the radio. Brady Bunch albums never had a hit on the radio, but they were still fun, even though a lot of them didn't like singing. I didn't get a lot of those on. I did used to have them on vinyl. I don't know if I still do or not, but I didn't get those on CD. I got the greatest hits only. But I'm going to fix that eventually. Just like I'm going to fix Bulletin Board and Bonaducci's solo album, because I looked for Bonaducci's solo album when I realized it was missing when I was filing Discog stuff a few months ago. And I'm like, what happened to that album? Same thing that happened to my Sean Cassidy debut album. I'm sure it just disappeared on one of my moves, got lost or whatever. I didn't really notice it because I never played it. Um, but it was a promo copy, which really sucked. It was a white label promo from Lion Records, and the music wasn't that half bad. I mean, it really wasn't. Dreamland and I'll Be Your Magician, although that was a bit of a, as even Danny said, that was a bit much for a 14-year-old, and they had originally recorded the song for Sound Magazine, and it didn't get on the album for a reason. Um, they are a favorite band of mine and a major influence in my life, and I know a lot of my friends around my same age in the VC remember them fondly too. You can't not like them because they were just there. They were there. They were on the radio. They were on television. Usually, when you saw them doing music on the talk shows, it was usually David doing solo stuff or doing the Partridge Family songs on like Mike Douglas and those kind of shows. And they will always be a part of my adulthood as well as my childhood because I love them. And the Christmas album is played every year. I still love it. It's one of my favorites. All in all, they were a classic pop act, and they deserve to be. Yes, they were manufactured for television. Yes, only Shirley Jones and David Cassidy did the vocals, and even on two or three of the early songs, they didn't do the vocals. It was the Ron Hickman singers, including one of the songs that was never released together, which is used in the pilot. Um, but those songs are great too. I'm on the road. Ron Hickman singers, fantastic. One of my favorite songs, and it deserves to be remembered as top-notch sunshine pop of the early '70s. If you write them off, you're writing off a legacy that includes an Academy Award winner, a Tiger Beat teen idol or two, and a lot of fans. So don't write them off. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening to my usual ramblings on influencers, the people that do influence me from musically from time to time. Um, I hope you like this show. If you do, please leave a thumbs up and give me a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't. And I hope that you will do so and spread the word because I love doing this more and more all the time. And I will have more of my influencers, which range all over the road, as you've seen over the last few weeks. And we'll continue to find out who makes me tick as a musical fan. For influencers, I'm TC Kirkham, the Kirkham Report. I'll see you soon. Ciao, baby.